When you work in a product office in South Austin, in an open space with walls covered in motivational quotes like, "Move fast, own everything," you quickly learn to say only what people want to hear. But I'm not the type to pretend this is a great idea when the idea is garbage dressed up in a pretty slide. I'm an analyst, but really, I've always been a bit more. I was drawn to where meaning is created, not just numbers. And so, it's Friday meeting time. Conference room, glass walls, the quarterly roadmap on the screen. Everyone has coffee from a local roaster, the air thick with procrastination and anticipation of a new toy from the head of product. Everything's going according to plan until I open my presentation tab. AI plus personal finance for low to middle income households. I start. Look, what if we combine a behavioral decision-making model with machine learning to recommend simple, clear steps for people with unstable incomes? Silence. A few seconds pass, then I hear someone chuckle. Ryan, a designer who spends more time making Figma stickers than doing UX tests, comments, "You mean like a robobank for the poor?" Laughter. Real, not friendly. I look at the manager, Mark, the guy whose LinkedIn bio reads, "Product-led growth nerd, B2B believer, crypto curious." He gives that signature smile like he's about to say something supportive but really lands a blow. "Mel, you're smart. Really smart. But be realistic. We build B2B tools for enterprise, not utopias." And adds, "Don't get me wrong. It's cute. Just not our target." Cute. Cute? I stay silent. Close the tab. Pretend everything's okay. Like this idea was born overnight, not over 6 months while I cared for my mom who couldn't make sense of her insurance and asked me why the same medication cost $12 at Walgreens and $108 at CVS. Like, I didn't spend nights studying federal benefits and consumer psychographics in Texas. Like, I hadn't already built a rough model that suggested budget adjustments based on recurring expenses, not in numbers but in human language. But all they heard was poor and AI. And in their worldview, those two words don't belong together. Because AI is for investors, for sharp-dressed C-levels, not for Rosa from Dallas working 3 shifts and raising 2 kids. I sat down, took a sip of coffee, and calmly asked, "Okay, what's next on the agenda?" That was it. The meeting moved on as if nothing happened. But inside, I already knew. They may not see it, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong. Just the wrong room, the wrong people, the wrong time. But the idea, it's the right one. And the laughter? Laughter isn't scary. What's scary is betraying yourself because someone's afraid to think beyond Excel sheets and $200 K enterprise deals per quarter. I closed my laptop and wrote in my notebook. They'll laugh, then ask, then want the job. For now, everything's going according to plan. A year ago, I was living in 2 worlds. By day, a product office discussing A/B conversion tests and API integrations with major payment systems. By night, my mom's kitchen in a suburb of Austin. 3 pills on schedule, a hot water bottle, and her laptop with 10 open tabs. Medicare, Chase, and phrases about deductibles that even I didn't immediately understand. She'd look at the screen and ask, "Mel, where does it say I can just pay less?" "Mel, is a savings account the same as a CD? What if I mess up and don't transfer the money, will I get fined?" At some point I realized, we build products as if every user is a Stanford grad with a Robinhood profile. But most people just want to live without fear of missing deadlines, misunderstanding interest rates, and losing what they've saved for years. That's how the idea was born. Every evening after dinner, while Mom slept, I sat at my laptop. My stack? Basic, Python, Flask, SQLite. Interface prototype in Figma, simple blocks, no fancy animations, just meaning everything in plain English, large fonts, explanations as if talking to a friend, not a finance expert. Instead of, "You're 23% over your monthly discretionary budget. You spent $147 more than planned. Here are 2 ways to save next month." I built 4 scenarios. The user gets a reminder if a utility bill is higher than usual. They can click Why, see it's due to a rate increase, and get tips on switching providers. If a medication bill is higher, the system finds nearby pharmacies with better prices via API. And most importantly, no investment advice until a basic financial buffer is set up. I ran mini interviews with my mom, her church friend, and a distant cousin who works at a car shop. They all said the same thing. Thank you for not making me feel stupid, and for not requiring me to know what APR means. I never told anyone at work. There was no room for weakness there, and building a product for people who don't understand anything was considered a waste of time. But I felt it wasn't just a hobby, it was a reality ignored by everyone pitching millions to venture funds, talking about improving financial access. Access? My mom could get fined $180 simply because a site didn't explain that auto-renewal would happen in 2 days. I didn't want to create another dashboard aggregator. I wanted to build a mentor, not a person, but a product that is patient, clear, and not intimidating. Every line of code, every screen in Figma wasn't for an MVP pitch. It was for my mom. And millions like her. Working hard but simply unsure which buttons to press and when. That's how the idea was born. From love. From exhaustion with cynicism. From the desire for one day hearing someone say, "My financial life is under control." Finally. And this wasn't a startup dream. It was a necessity. And then I decided to tell my team. And you already know how that ended. In our office, there was an unspoken divide. Some were the creators, the ones walking around with post-its, speaking loudly, pitching with GIFs, drawing arrows on the board that led nowhere. And others like me, the ones who cleaned bugs, calculated risks, tracked deadlines, built models to save the project from bankruptcy. Guess who ended up on the investor slides more often? One day, I approached the board and pitched an idea. Add a module that explains user spending not just by categories, but in the context of life. Not just food, $623, but you spend more on food when you're tired from work, here's the correlation. I explained how these data points could actually be linked through passive patterns and behavioral analysis. Pause. Silence. Then Ryan, our creative genius with a marketing background, smirked and said, "Mel, you're good with numbers, but creativity isn't formulas. You lack spark." That was it. Like being back in computer science class, where guys in gamer tees said, "You get math, but you're not really a creator." A couple of weeks passed. At a company-wide meeting, I saw Ryan's presentation. There was a slide about behavioral spending analysis, almost word for word what I'd proposed, but now with animation. And no mention of my name. I didn't make a scene. I just asked, "How did you connect correlations with behavior patterns?" He gave a vague answer, not really explaining. "Yeah, we just threw ideas around. It's a team effort." Of course. A team effort if you're on the right side of the team. I stepped into the hallway, bought a Dr. Pepper from the vending machine, and sat by the window. Outside, the sun was shining. Austin was living its life. I thought of my mom, how she loved my interface, clicking buttons and saying, "Oh, so that's how it should be explained. Why does no one do it like this?" I smiled and said out loud to myself, "It's okay. The main thing is not to forget who I am. Not just an analyst. Not just a resource. A person who can see through the chaos meaning. And even if they laugh, take my ideas and call them their own. They can't take what's inside me. It's not pride, it's confidence. Calm, like a formula you solved correctly. Needing no one else's approval." In our company, we have an internal platform called IdeaSpark. Employees can submit ideas for new features, services, or entire directions. You fill out a template, problem solution, target audience, success metrics. The product council, a mix of managers, analysts, and designers, evaluates the ideas. I hesitated for a long time. But one evening, after a Zoom call with my mom, who couldn't figure out how to set up Apple Pay, I just went ahead and submitted everything properly. I named the project Clarity, a simple AI navigator for personal finance. Not investing, not trading, Just clear advice, no jargon. For those living paycheck to paycheck but wanting to understand where their $1,200 a month goes, I attached a prototype, screenshots, even a funnel hypothesis. Real survey data. Statistics: 62% of Americans can't accurately name their monthly obligations. I hit submit and exhaled. Even if they reject it, at least I tried. The reply came 6 days later. Official. Via the platform. Comment: too niche, not scalable, low market fit. 3 short phrases. No questions, no discussion. As if I proposed making ceramics in a garage, not a digital advisor with a decent UX. As if helping people with normal incomes isn't market fit. As if the whole country isn't drowning in 20% APR debt. I reread the message 5 times, then closed my laptop, Saturday down, and just stared at the ceiling. Too niche, too narrow. Low market fit, not a market fit. Who exactly are they building for? For those who already have a financial advisor, CPA, and lawyer? I wrote in my notebook in big letters. I will no longer ask permission to think. That was a full stop. Not a pause, not doubt. A period. I realized that as long as I stay here, my thinking will be filtered through someone else's business intuition, which confuses mass product with safe template. They don't want to see beyond their Excel sheets. But reality isn't in a spreadsheet, it's in my mom's kitchen, in the Texas neighborhoods, with thousands of people who just want to know. Am I managing? Am I moving forward? Or just drowning quietly? And if they say it's too niche, then I know I finally hit the mark. One Friday night, close to midnight, I was sitting on my kitchen floor. On the table, boxed noodles, next to my laptop covered in hackathon stickers. In my mind, only one thought. If not now, then when? Quit? No, don't be foolish. But waiting for approval on an idea I already had a prototype for, that was even more foolish. I opened Xcode and fixed a few bugs in the demo. In Figma, I updated the main screen text. Clarity, your money, your rhythm, your rules. I removed our company's logo, erased everything that could give it away. And on Saturday morning, I launched the project on Product Hunt. Not as a corporation. Not with a mission to change the world. Just as me, Melissa, daughter of a woman who doesn't understand what a credit score is for. And a data specialist tired of explaining the obvious to people who think empathy is low margin. I made a post on Reddit in our personal finance. Simply titled, Need Feedback, a simple tool to see where your money goes. No BS. No marketing hype. The first comment came 30 minutes later. This is actually helpful, clean interface. My mom might use it. Then another. Finally, someone who gets that not everyone wants to build wealth, some of us just want to survive. By the next day, about 200 signups. By day 3, almost 800. No paid ads, no promotion. Just a real product for real people. I barely slept all week. But for the first time in a long while, it wasn't burnout. It was burning passion. On Monday, during the office stand-up, Mark was talking about the next B2B dashboard that will change the way we look at SaaS conversions. And I looked at his screen and thought, you have no idea that I'm no longer working for your stats. You're working for mine. I wasn't waiting for recognition. I wasn't seeking revenge. I just started on my own. And that was enough to break everything inside and rebuild it differently. On my own terms. Friday, 5:12 p.m. The final meeting of the week just ended. Mark, as always, closed with, let's hit Q3 strong, folks, eyes on the numbers. I close Zoom, stare at the screen. For the first time without irritation, just with confidence. I open Google Docs, create a document. Title Resignation Letter Melissa Grayson. 1 paragraph, clear and polite. Dear team, I'm writing to formally resign from my position, effective 2 weeks from today. I've decided to pursue a personal venture full-time. Thank you for the learning, the late nights, and the numbers. Sincerely, Melissa. I hit send and attached the letter as a reply to the weekly status update from HR. No tears, no calls, no drama, just a decision. 20 minutes later, 3 reactions pop up in Slack. And 2. Then a direct message from Ryan. Didn't see that coming. You're nice, but I never thought you were CEO material. I smile. Because, to be honest, I didn't think I was CEO material either. But it turns out it's not about the title, it's about the moment when you tell yourself, I don't have to be like those already at the top, I can build my own path. Then a message from Eliza in marketing. So sad to see you go. What will you be doing next? I write back. An app, financial, simple, useful, human. And that's it. I no longer feel guilty. Not about my style. Not about my idea. Not about wanting to try without anyone's approval. While they discuss optimizing B2B customers, that's sinawinNW.B. I have 1,300 active users. And my mom, who opened the app for the first time, said, I finally understand where my pension goes and why you quit. It wasn't running away. It was launching. I wasn't leaving from. I was heading towards. It's been just 3 weeks since I resigned. In the morning, the first thing I check isn't Slack or Jira, it's the Stripe dashboard. There, plus 428 new signups overnight. I update the analytics. Locations: Atlanta, Minneapolis, Phoenix. Profiles: young moms, immigrants, freelancers. People who, in my old company's meetings, were called the low LTV segment. But to each other, they're real users. They write to support, and for now, that's me. Thanks for explaining without condescension. I was afraid of financial apps, but here it feels like talking to a friend. My husband drives for Uber, I freelance. No one ever asked how we live. I read all this and feel it. Here's the demand they never considered. Then Medium happens. A journalist named Sarah at Financially Human writes an article. Finally, an AI that doesn't judge you for living paycheck to paycheck. Simple, honest, no fluff. The article includes screenshots, reviews, even my mom's words about the interface. It doesn't scold, it explains. The post goes viral. It's reposted on Twitter, Reddit, even TikTok has a quick review. Suddenly, investors start reaching out. Small studios from Portland, angel investors from Boston. One VC from New York writes, We dismissed this demographic for years. You didn't. We'd love to talk. And I remember what Mark once said. We don't do utopias. And I want to reply. I'm not making Excel fantasies detached from reality. My code isn't perfect. The design is still rough. But it works. Because I'm building not for slides, but for the people who never fit into those slides before. And here's what's funny, I'm invited to a podcast. The first question. Melissa, did you expect such a response? I say, I just stopped waiting for permission to do what matters. And honestly, that's how it all began. The most surprising part of the growth? Not the users, not the investors, but the messages from those who once nodded and laughed. I open LinkedIn in the morning, there's an invite from Ryan. The very Ryan who said, You're good with numbers, but your creativity is lacking. Now he writes, Hey, just saw your platform's growth so impressive. Let's catch up sometime. Catch up. In the past, that would have meant to lecture, criticize, gently dismiss. Now, maybe you'll remember I was once close by. I open my email, there's a message from Mark. The same manager who told me to be realistic. Subject, collaboration opportunity. Melissa, I've been following your product's traction. I think there's potential synergy. Let's chat, maybe there's a way we can collaborate or support your roadmap. I reread it. No, sorry. No, we were wrong. Just, maybe you've become useful. Then I check the admin panel, we just opened the first job posting. Junior Data PM remote, equity, flexible hours. Guess who applied? Ryan. Through internal tracking, I see his email. And Mark, under a fake name but the same LinkedIn, the same background, the same confidence. He wrote in his cover letter, "I'm passionate about democratizing financial tools for underrepresented groups." I wonder when he got passionate, before or after the TechCrunch article? I sit with my coffee, read it all, and smile. Not out of spite, but with a calm, warm feeling. I didn't seek revenge. I built. And now they're coming back, not for an apology, but for a door in. I don't reply immediately. I close my laptop. Look at the task board. We're piloting an AI module for Spanish-speaking users. I have work to do. And in my head, only one thing plays. When your idea was a joke, you were alone with it. Now it's a movement and you're not alone. And that's worth more than any "let's catch up." Morning. A Zoom link, a calendar invite, candidate interview, 10:30 a.m. I open the tab. In front of me is Ryan's resume. The very Ryan who once, in a room with a whiteboard and coffee from a vending machine, said, "You're too technical to be a visionary." Now a candidate for the product operations lead position at my startup. Irony? Yes, but the choice is mine. Cameras turn on. He's a bit tense but tries to smile. "Hey, Melissa, first of all, congrats. This is incredible what you've built." I nod. "Thank you. Let's get started." He talks about his experience, points to Forbes and Medium articles about my platform, and explains, "Honestly, I didn't see it back then, but this is brilliant." "Yeah," I say, "many didn't see it, but I wasn't angry. I was building." At that moment, he lowers his head a bit. Not from rudeness, there was none, but from the weight of those words, because now I'm at the table where he's asking to sit. After the interview, another candidate, Lisa. She once said on a company call, "Maybe we should just let the technical girls make dashboards." Now she says, "I'm so inspired by your leadership. I'd love to be a part of this mission." I close my laptop for a second and think, they didn't hear my idea before because I spoke calmly, without showmanship. Now they see the same platform on their screen, only with a logo and a team. A team I'm building myself, where there are no hierarchies based on voice, speaking style, or charm in meetings. On the wall behind me, a printout of the very first mock-up I made in Figma. It's rough, but everything was already there. Now we have a meeting. But the rules are mine. And yes, I choose the coffee too. I stand on stage at a fintech conference in the heart of San Francisco. The room is packed investors, journalists, industry peers. A big screen behind me glows brightly showing the stats, 1 million users. A deep breath. I begin. When I first pitched this idea, they laughed, said it was too niche, not scalable, just a dream. My voice is steady, but without bitterness. I didn't wait for approval. I just worked, step by step, night after night. I show slides with the platform's interface, growth charts, and user testimonials, young moms, immigrants, freelancers, finally getting access to clear financial guidance. At first, you laughed. Now you're working for the woman whose idea seemed too niche. The room smiles. Applause breaks out. I pause, my gaze sweeping the audience. I realize this isn't just a triumph, it's a message to everyone who once feared being misunderstood. As I step off the stage, backstage is quiet, calm. I am the boss, because I wasn't afraid to be misunderstood. And I didn't let fear stop me. In that moment, I know for sure, this is only the beginning.